All right, let's jump right in. The world of AI is moving at, well, an absolutely insane speed. And right at the heart of it all is Demis Hassabis, the CEO of Google DeepMind. He just did this incredibly open interview where he basically laid out the future, the stakes, the timeline, everything. So we're going to break down what he had to say right now.
And yeah, he kicks things off with a bang. I mean, look into that. Code red. That's not some dramatic flair for the cameras. That's the head of one of the top AI labs in the world, telling you what it's really like. This isn't just business as usual. This is an all-out, high-stakes race.
So here's the game plan for how we're going to unpack all this. First, we'll get into that code red race. Then we'll look past our screens to the real holy grail, artificial general intelligence, or AGI, and what it means for actual physical robots. After that, we'll zoom out to see how this could totally remake our world, and finally, touch on the massive challenge this is for all of us.
Okay, so let's start with the race itself. What does it actually feel like to be on the front lines of this thing? Because the intensity, it's honestly hard to even imagine.
According to Hassabis, to even stay in the game, the standard for the past few years has been 100-hour work weeks, 50 weeks a year. Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't a 9-to-5 job. For the people building this stuff, it's this all-consuming mission. They truly believe they are building the future, and they're working like it.
So, in a race this intense, how does a giant like Google keep its edge? Hassabis talks about their full-stack advantage, and this is so key to understanding the landscape. It's not just about hiring smart people, it's about owning the entire system, From their own custom computer chips, the TPUs, to their giant data centers, all the way up to the billions of people using Google Search and Gmail, giving them constant feedback. It's the whole shebang.
But here's the thing. The ultimate prize in this race isn't just a smarter chatbot. The real destination, the true north for a lab like DeepMind, is to break out of the digital world and create something way more profound. We're talking about general intelligence, and then giving that intelligence a body.
Now, when Hassabis says AGI, you got to understand he's setting the bar really, really high. We're not talking about a machine that's just good at taking tests. He means a system that has actual scientific creativity. The ability to not just find an answer, but to come up with a whole new question nobody thought to ask. An AI that can learn continuously, on its own, just like a person. So, when are we going to get this world-changing high-bar AGI? This is the number that makes you sit up straight. Hassabis puts the odds at 50-50 that we'll have it by 2030. Let me say that again. A 50% chance by 2030. That is an incredibly short timeline for what would easily be the biggest invention in human history. Okay, so if we're on the verge of this super powerful digital brain, what happens when it starts to interact with the real, physical world? This is where we get into robotics, and it turns out that's a whole different and much harder ballgame.
Hassabis points to 3 huge roadblocks. First, the algorithms for robots have to be way more flexible and learn from way less data. Second, you can't just feed a robot the entire internet to teach it how to, say, wash the dishes. Getting good physical data is super slow and expensive. And finally, there's the hardware itself. He actually says that working on this has given him a whole new appreciation for the human hand. It's this marvel of engineering that is just unbelievably difficult to copy.
But let's say we do it. We clear those hurdles. We get AGI. What happens then? The impact on our society, well, it's not just a small update. It's a complete reboot of civilization as we know it.
And if you want to understand the scale of this change, Hassabis put it in terms that are impossible to ignore. He says to expect a disruption that is 10 times bigger and 10 times faster than the Industrial Revolution. Just think about how much the world changed back then, and now multiply that by 10 and speed it all up. That's the future he's bracing for.
So, of course, the big question on everyone's mind is jobs. What about our jobs? Now, some people, like the CEO of Anthropic, are predicting a huge wave of job losses in just the next 5 years. Hassabis, though, thinks it'll take a lot longer, and he uses this brilliant phrase for why: jagged intelligence. Basically, today's AI is amazing at some things, but still just terrible at others. It's jagged, and until it's good at the whole job, not just pieces of it, you can't really replace the person doing it.
But looking past the immediate disruption, Hassabis also paints this picture of what could be on the other side. Maybe 5 or 10 years after AGI, he envisions a post-scarcity world. A world where AI helps us finally crack the big problems, like creating clean fusion energy or designing miraculous new materials. A world of what he calls radical abundance.
And that brings us to the really deep question. Hassabis says he's actually less worried about the economics of it all, and much more worried about us, about people. If we don't have to work anymore, what do we do? What gives us purpose? What gives our lives meaning? That's a huge philosophical question we haven't really had to face before.
Which leads us to the final piece of the puzzle. When you're building something this powerful, it stops being a technical problem for a few companies. It becomes a global challenge for every single one of us.
So what's the best way to move forward? Hassabis has this dream of creating a CERN for AI. You know, like that giant particle physics lab in Europe? He imagines a similar international project where the best scientists, but also philosophers and economists from all over the world come together to work on those final crucial steps towards AGI, to make sure it's built for the benefit of all humanity.
But, he's not naive. That CERN model, that's the ideal. The reality, as he puts it, is that getting all the countries in the world to work together right now is tricky. So the more realistic path, at least for now, is for the big labs themselves, DeepMind, OpenAI, Anthropic, to work together directly, to agree on the rules for safety and security and build a little trust.
And really, that's what this all boils down to. AI might just be the tool that lets us answer our biggest, oldest questions about the universe. But as Demis Hassabis makes so clear, the most important question isn't about the tool, it's about us. The first and biggest question is, what kind of future are we going to decide to build with it?